Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome to Lima Online. It's the last edition before our summer break, and I'm so happy to be surrounded by so many participants tonight. So I'd like to welcome you, Giovanni, Takako, Bernadette, Esther, and Ivar, and Jose here, who's taking care of technique. He was there every week, but you never saw him, so now you can finally see he's also there. Yeah, tonight we're gonna talk to Esther and Ivar about a workshop they gave, which was called City as Performative Object. We're going to see works by Martijn Veldhoen, Douwe Dijkstra, and Giovanni Jaretta, and talk about them all seen through the lens of mobility. And yeah, to give you a bit of an introduction on what that means and what we're going to do, I would like to give the screen to Esther and Ivar. So Esther and Ivar, thank you so much for being here, and the screen is yours. Oh yes, and in the meantime, Thomas Moore has also joined. He was also
Thomas Moore. Hi, Thomas.
Welcome, Thomas.
Okay.
Great that you're here as well.
We're here now.
Yes. Now, thank you, Sanneke, for giving us the screen. And we moved to Ivar's phone because we want to explain a little bit about the workshop, how we went about with this idea of the city of performative object that we have been researching already for a couple of years. And the idea behind this research is to look at the world through the lens of mobility. And we wanted to think about the city. And I think I can best explain it when I also make a drawing, right?
Yes, you make a drawing. I'll change my camera the other way. So this is the other side of the room.
There's already so much mobility going on.
Yes, I'll keep it a little still because there were some complaints before. But
oh yeah,
I'll try to be a quiet cameraman.
In this research, we try to think of the city in a different way. Like normally you think of the city as it consisting of streets and pavements and a whole structure. And when you leave the door and you go somewhere, you move through that space. And of course, you pass it and you pass buildings. But you are the thing that moves, and the city is kind of a pre-given. And we were trying to change that order, change that genealogy. And we were thinking of what now if you think of the city as a sort of open, a white piece of paper where nothing exists. There is nothing until you start moving through that space, and because of you are moving, the architecture and the whole city structure emerges. So a little bit like what happens in computer games when the protagonist, depends a little bit on the structure of the game, it can be a point of view, and you are moving, and then the environment is rendered because you are there. And you could imagine a computer game that makes it also depend on what kind of mobility you are in the game. For example, if you are a pedestrian with a slow pace, then a whole different kind of architecture might emerge than when you would be in a car. You would be in a maybe totally different landscape that you experience in a different way. Of course, it is a super speculative theory, and it was inspired by the theory of Judith Butler, who had a little bit likewise ideas about gender. She said the sexes, the male and the female sex, are not so much a biological given from which all kinds of features of masculinity and femininity stem. No, it's rather the other way around. We perform our gender. That's the performativity of gender theory of Judith Butler. And what we tried is to apply that to space. So we used this feminist theory, took it totally out of the realm of feminism and applied it to space, especially city space. The next step was to be able to talk about this performativity of the city. We created a lexicon, a set of terms. And the first term that we created was in doing right. Talking and writing is not my thing. So Judith Butler uses, of course, as the things, the objects that carry gender are individuals. And in the case of mobility, we call that move entity. Because a move entity can be a person, but it can, as we showed before, be also a car or a bike. And it can also be a group of people. If you think of a marathon, the move entity would be an enormous amount of people, maybe. It would be a marathon. I don't have time to draw the whole New York marathon here.
Or it's enough.
Then the second word that we thought of was move act. So Judith Butler uses gender act as a way to produce gender. We translated that into move act. It's kind of the verb of moving. So, for example, the marathon, that is people that are running. But if some people from the marathon get super tired, they drop out and they start walking. So their move act changes. Somebody on a bike has a different move act again. And then there is this cultural construct. Because when you're on a bike, you're not only just a human body on a machine that uses pedals to move, but there's a whole cultural structure around it. There's special kinds of paths that are designed, that are set for you, like the pinkish asphalt that we have in the Netherlands for bike paths. If you are a pedestrian, different laws apply to you, and we call that a move category. Yeah, so you can categorize movements and move entities, but the category is always a kind of a cultural construct. So it's not so much the walking, which is putting your one foot before another, but it is the difference between the flaneur and the commuter. They both walk, but in a total different cultural frame, or
you could say, like, in the capacity in which you're move acting, that's the move category. Like, you're a walker, you're a flaneur, you're a runner.
Yeah. So in the workshop, during the workshop, we worked with between 12-15 people, and every day or every session of the workshop, we tried to do experiments. And we did a lot of experiments in the city or in the indoor space to explore these three terms, but also we watched films and we tried to describe the films with these terms. Yes, that was our introduction. Ivar, do you want to add something to this?
No, I think Esther told everything. The important thing maybe is that it's a kind of a thought space, but that we try to create, in which we want to take people to think about the world in another way. And for tonight, the movies are at stake.
Yeah, we don't have a truth claim with this theory. I think that's really important to mention. So we want always to invite people to try this out, to just dive into it, believe it for these 1.5 hours that you're in this evening, and free yourself from it afterwards again, if you want to, or stick to it.
Yeah, I was only part of one of the workshops just as an attendee, and I already experienced that. And the interesting thing you did is like to transpose this concept to the cinematographic space. So yes, mobility, but mobility in a completely different, in a different sense. I was part of the talk that was around revolving around Giovanni's work, in which there's almost no people, no movement, and so on. But there was a very interesting discussion going on about the work. So we'll get to that. But yeah, it's really indeed a way to set your mind, so to say, and to look at either the world or at artworks in a different way. So I was really intrigued by what happened, and I hope we can relive some of that experiences tonight. So maybe we can slowly move towards the first work of the night, and that's Green.
That's
Screen
going to be.
Gringo. Yeah, sorry, Ivar.
Yeah. No, that's a green screen Gringo indeed. And no, you're the host, so you go on.
No, I'm just the host, so I just like wanted to. I'm just here for time schedule. No,
no, it's for the time. The only thing I maybe want to add is indeed the moment we try to figure out these thought experiments about mobility and the theory, is that we also try to start to lay it over our own artworks, different artworks, and it's really a new insight in those works indeed.
And I'm intrigued by that. But how do you like? Does it give you new tools to look at your work, or do you mean you also use your work, because you didn't use your own work, for instance, in this workshop as a case study? So there's something else going on, probably. Like.
Yes, no, we didn't do it in this workshop, but we did it when we started to put this theory into writing. We also used it to, in a way, describe our old work and to see how it would work in those, and to see if it would fit in that way of thinking, and what it would bring us. Would it bring us new things, new ways to make new work, or maybe categorize it in a kind of way?
Does it also stimulate you to use with mobility in a more poetic sense? Because your work, even if poetic, is most of the time quite strictly representing a form of mobility, and it's often a translation of mobility in the physical space to a digital environment, or at least that's the works I know, like from early GPS to Google Earth. But does it also trigger you to work less maybe with mobility in a physical sense? Do you see where I'm going?
Works maybe.
You want to add something?
No, I'm just giving a...
Yes, I think, well, if you look at the right, which we're not going to see, but the right was definitely more poetic, but still really movement. Thinking about sounds that move is now more introduced as well. Or we have a new work coming that is about movement, but it's all only a still image, because it's going about the movement of the talking person. So it's changing, but I think it's definitely a kind of a new guideline for us as well, for our own work.
That's nice. Yeah. And I think most of your works are like we can watch them online, because they're not going to be part of tonight's program, but I think people might become curious, like if they don't know your work already, to have a look. Is that possible?
Some of those are, yeah, the ones that still can be screened, will be screened in festivals are not. They're behind a password. But subscribe to our newsletter and you know where they will be shown.
Cool. Yeah, but there's a lot of work that is available through our website. Yes, and also films, whole films.
Yeah.
So go check it out if
you
don't know it already. Yeah, but on to Douwe Dijkstra.
Yes. Yeah, we want to invite Katelijne, who was in our workshop and who discussed this film, to say something about it, how you experienced it.
maybe for a second just tell how we do this. So we're gonna ask Katelijne to describe, and it's going to be kind of an introduction, and then we show the movie, right, Sanneke?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Yes, good evening. So during the workshop, we watched several movies, and the one that I watched from the perspective of the move entity was the green screen Gringo by Douwe Dijkstra. And actually it's a short film in which a foreigner is manipulating a green screen that he's dragging through the city of Sao Paulo, and it's a very turbulent city with a lot of movement going on, and also a lot of different people, devices, animals, and creatures that are actually, taking this role as a move entity. So in the beginning, I was a bit puzzled because there was just so much movement, and then also the technical part of the movie that deals a lot with transposition of people and objects to other places and taking them out of their context and collaging them into a new context was very rich. So there was a whole list of move entities at first that I looked at. So there are like the pigeons, the filmmaker that is manipulating the green screen, many street DJs that were playing music on the street, a museum guide, school children, lovers, beggars, garbage people, a lot of like people at first. But then when I started looking more carefully, I also noticed that there was a lot of objects that were actually also taking on the role of a move entity, because they somehow like staged the action of moving, and they also facilitated and connected this throughout the movie. So when I looked at it from this perspective, those objects, even though they did not always literally move, they were also traveling through the movie by the means of transposition. And this list consists of the green screen itself that was actually taken by the movie maker and moved about in the city, but also the mobile DJ booths. There's several ones of them that are very like explicit and big, and they take a visual place in the movie. There's a whole array of standardized yellow plastic chairs, the really like basic chairs, but then with this bright yellow color that link all the move entities in the movie as well. But also, for example, a treadmill on which a man is running, but then the treadmill is also staging this running move entity. Carriages that were used by the garbage people, sky dancers. So, and also, yeah, a very typical one, probably also of the city of Sao Paulo, was the Baywatch chair. So you see it also being transposed in different locations in the city. So, and that was for me a very enriching experience, that I could define several categories of move entity. So within the rules of the workshop and the guidelines that were set, you start to define like subcategories as well. And I think that this was a very intriguing experience. So yeah, that was how I looked at the movie. So I hope when you see it, you can recognize those elements. And I also made this drawing. I don't know if it will be clear if I show it like this, but that's more like a timeline or a summary of all those different move entity connectors. Okay, that was it.
Thank you, Katelijne. I think that was a real nice and new way to have as an introduction for work. So I would say we go watch the work, and then afterwards there will be Douwe or Esther. Am I now confused again?
Yeah, I was imagining to first let Douwe introduce the film.
Let's
react on, because he's reacting on Katelijne in a way, hopefully.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's reacting on Katelijne, and he's also reacting on the others who followed the workshop because he saw a video recording of the discussion that took place a couple of days ago, just for you watching at home, because otherwise he makes reference that you might not understand, but that's normal. But then indeed, Esther, sorry for my confusion again. We're gonna listen now to Douwe. Isn't here, as you can see, but he recorded a voice message for us. So I think we should listen to Douwe right now. She'll say.
Hey everyone. Sorry I can't be there tonight. Well, not live at least, because I'm being a moving entity myself at the moment, traveling around. But it was yeah, it was wonderful to see the little recorded session that you had talking about my film Green Screen Gringo. Very interesting, and I'm also honored, I must say, that that the film ends up being used as a study case, and it's what I also especially liked about it is that it's a talk that is not about the film. I mean, it is about the film, but that's not the point. You are talking about your about this way of looking at work and analyzing it and using my my film as an example. So it was very very interesting to hear about that, and analyzing this this lexicon that you are using that is new for me. Also, what I thought about was that this theoretical analysis of work and looking at a piece, it's very, well, in a way it's opposite to how I work, or at least to how I start working, also in regards to this film. So it's a project that started with some concepts, but also very intuitively, and a lot was made through the experience of actually, yeah, of being there, and very late in the process I went into more more analysis of the material and constructing the narrative. And yeah, I really liked what Catalana said about watching the film again, which is because that's really what I try to do, is construct something that has many layers and that is meant in a way to be watched several times. So I always hope that people, if they have the opportunity to see it again, that they will look at the same material very differently and see very different things. Whereas the first viewing is most of the time a lot about the narrative of Brazil that is explained in the film. But then also in the second viewing, maybe it's also more about the background and mythology, and also the little jokes and references that I put in the film. Yeah, so it was nice to hear your analysis. And Ruben, you should really drink more coffee before starting next time. And I can also imagine that it was that the film fit the theories that you were working on, maybe in a literal sense, which maybe is not the most inspiring thing. At least that's what it sounded like from what I heard back from Ruben. Yeah, again, thanks for including my work in this workshop, and I hope you have a good talk tonight. Enjoy. Have a nice evening. Bye bye, and with greetings from La France. Bye.
São Paulo.
Bom dia. Vocês estão prontos?
O final da crise política brasileira é um assunto importantíssimo, um assunto essencial.
Eu sei você vai rir da minha cara. Prepara
Fica aí, Marroqueiro. Alô, Tereza? Tudo bom, Tereza? Como é que tá você na luta? Eu tô aqui com uma pessoa de Holanda. Vai tirar uma foto minha aqui no centro da cidade. Espera aí que nós vamos conversar. Quem tem que tirar? Não, espera, Tereza. A menina também é de Holanda, né? Ela a foto vai ser conversada. Não sei, Tereza. Essa foto
Após o bip, deixe seu recado.
Hi, man. I'm sorry to take a little bit to answer you. The situation here is a bit complicated, as I told you. And the strangest thing is that everything seems normal. I don't know. We don't seem to have enough strength to change the situation. But the news are very sad. So we are all trying to understand what's happening. Well, keep in touch, man. See you.
E aqui representa realmente os imigrantes e os escravos que vieram para cá. Leiam as plaquinhas, não toquem nas obras, por favor.
Procure fazer a relação entre as imagens, entre as culturas, procure criar uma história na cabeça de vocês. Ó, fiquem vendo algumas cenas bem e tal. Ou seja, devia ter no máximo um pouco mais de cuidado de vocês, levando em consideração o contexto. Tudo bem?
películas e acessórios para celular. Vamos conhecer a loja hoje, hein? Eu tô aqui atrás da Dilma. Roupa, tênis, capinha, película, carga de vontade. Capinhas, acessórios para celular em geral.
Um crime político organizado que se instituiu, que realmente está enraizado em todas as esferas governamentais e em todas as organizações que detêm algum tipo de poder nesse país, não vão vencer, não vão dobrar o povo brasileiro.
Posso entender as duas faces que me levam a você. O mundo é de papel, só é bom quem vai pro céu. Já disso eu não sei. Meu lugar eu não guardei. Esse caminho torto é fruto de um... Me levam a você. Esse caminho torto é fruto de um desgosto. Caminho sem você. Traço vertentes sujas, tenho duas faces burras que anseiam em te
O Senado aprovou, por 55 votos a favor e 22 contra, o afastamento da presidente Dilma Rousseff da presidência da República por até 180 dias para ser julgada por crime de responsabilidade.
Bom, em primeiro lugar, eu quero dizer que eu estou constrangido de participar dessa farsa em nome dos direitos da população LGBT, do povo negro exterminado nas periferias, dos trabalhadores da cultura, dos sem teto, dos sem terra. Eu voto não ao golpe e durmam com essa, canalhas! Deputado...
Correndo para não perder o metrô das 18h15, para não dar esmola àquela criança, para não se perceber dentro do caos paulistano. A cidade de São Paulo com seus prédios imensos, com suas constelações, com suas farsas todas, dos prédios que cobrem o céu. Suas pontes que não ligam ninguém, a não ser os carros violentos. Correndo para não perder o ônibus, para não ser assaltado, para não perder o furto diário da paz, da esperança, da alegria. Quem assaltou nossa memória subterrânea? Há um assalto cotidiano e ele é reflexo da nossa incompreensão. correndo, 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 tic-tac, tic-tac, tic-tac. Alguma coisa vai explodir. Explosão.
Após o bip, deixe o seu recado.
Hi, man. I don't know if you know, but we have a new president, a very disgusting one. The whole process is very, well, it's bad.
Welcome to the program. Dilma Rousseff has been suspended, and taking her place as interim president is a man perhaps even more polarizing than her. Michel Temer is seen as serving the interests of Brazil's business elite, and despite calling for unity, he's appointed a cabinet made up entirely of white men. Lots for us to discuss today, but first...
Where do you think that we live in Brazil? On those fun little houses attached to the hills. How do you think that we do to survive? We're rich, robbing poor people, that's truly wild. Can you hold foot on a cloud?
Welcome back. And thank you, Katelijne, and thank you, Douwe, all the way from La France, for your reflection on the work, and Douwe for the work. That was really interesting to see. And yeah, I want to switch directly to a completely different work by Giovanni, who's here. An Inaccurate Distance from 2014, if I'm not mistaken. I hope I see Giovanni nod. Yes, he nods. And yeah, I want to give the word actually to Thomas More directly, an artist himself, but who now analyzed Giovanni's work in the workshop and who's going to do a re-performance of that analysis right now. So Thomas, great that you're here, and shoot.
Good. Yeah, as a filmmaker, I would look very differently than in the role of participant in the workshop. And my task was to apply the filter as move entity, as Katelijne did as well. And if my task would be to introduce Gringo, then it would be very rich and full of many, many entities, as you saw in the drawing of Katelijne. So when I started to watch Giovanni's film, I thought, what can I do with this? Purely based on the filter of move identity. So after 5 minutes, I stopped. And then I started to watch again because I was really so confused what to do. And I will not tell much about it because this is almost a spoiler alert. So you will see a cat and you will see a bird and you will see some trees at some time. But most of all, we loved the speed, and we loved the awareness and the concentration, the ability to observe Giovanni has. And yeah, the impact of the mind is really quite stunning if you watch in terms of move entity. And yeah, that was explained in the beginning. What it is. So I would recommend watch it yourself, and then maybe you think about yourself as move identity, how you move in connection to the film, and the camera has a big role. The text has a big role, and so the result is very interesting. And of course, Giovanni will tell more about the film himself then. So I wish you a pleasant watching the film.
Thank you, Thomas. And I think before I give the word to Giovanni, we're gonna listen to another participant of the workshop who's not here, but made a beautiful documentation, almost a work in itself, in which she talks of the work by Giovanni. So José, I would like you to ask to screen that work.
Sono un viaggiatore della mente. I'm a traveler of the mind. A few minutes into the work, I realized I could understand the language that he spoke without reading. The movement of translation had traveled from the visual into the sonic. The action of reading became the action of hearing, and my gaze was free to travel around the objects that were carefully displayed by the author in his edited portrait of the traveling man. The author's gaze through his camera motion, the translator's gaze through the melody of his voice, the intimate distance between them and all the objects in between invited me, my gaze, in its full attention, intruding into the intimacy established in their connection that was tangible but visually absent in this trace. Giaretta's attempt to grasp the relationship between distance and Bertani's translating body through fragments became the object of analysis in our workshop. Looking for move categories, I found myself immersed in an unconscious movement of translation between languages, visual and sonic cues, and text as a trace for language. My body as a tool and a medium to mark the content between the image, the sound, and the affective power of the work. In a turning point in history when a global viral pandemic has used the human body as a tool to travel miles in a short time, when the intimacy of our homes has been transformed both into a protective shelter and a form of imprisonment, when we have viewed through the social media city balconies in Italy become the stage of the performance of gratitude, with oral cues connecting family households in isolation, cities are, perhaps more than ever, performative objects, vibrant connectors of the resilient bodies that stand together, connected by a continuous material force. I thank you as a voice, as a performative sonic act, or as theorist J.L. Austin would call a speech act, for bearing us witnesses and leading us into this journey through the durational process of filmmaking as an acting trace of the love for translation.
Welcome back again. A slight change of plans, because we do think that after having had the introduction by Thomas and by Anna, you might have the proper tools to already start watching the work yourself. And afterwards, Giovanni will be there to give his reflection. And I think for him, it was also a complete new experience to hear people talk so much about his work from a different perspective, but more about that afterwards. What I forgot to tell you is that the chat is open. So if you have questions to any of us, feel free to ask them at any time. We will be there to answer them. But for now, enjoy, and in accurate distance, it would take 15 to 16 minutes. So just focus and enjoy, and we'll be back after. Thanks.
Sono in Groenlandia. La Groenlandia che penso io. Sono in Groenlandia. E dell'America del Sud ho un libricino che tradotto delle fiabe twiche della Pampa argentina. Della cosa poi mai ho scritto, ho fatto un vocabolario iacalteco, che ho parlato dai Maya. Ho viaggiato più con la mente che con... mi trovo di più, è la cosa astratta, saranno. Sono un viaggiatore della mente. Ma premetto che io ero un contadino sbagliato, non ero un contadino proprio, mi ritengo più un pastore che un contadino. Mi piacevano le capre, ecco. Ma c'è il legame sicuramente con la natura poi, con la natura. Il contadino non è uno che ama la natura per la sua esistenza, perché se ha, tanto per dire, una mucca che gli è servito per 20 anni, quando non è più si sbarazza, perché la sua esistenza non è un amante della natura, il contadino. Se c'è delle piante, cose, via, tutto. Perché sono condizionati dalla loro esistenza, insomma. Davanti un tempo, davanti alla casa dei contadini non c'erano giardini, magari c'era un pezzo di terra, piantavano ortaggi. Il contadino non ama per ragioni esistenziali, perché è obbligato a fare così, sfruttare. Io no, questo non ero. Mi piacevano i campi, mi piacevano gli animali, non dalla visuale contadina. Ma la traduzione, specialmente a poesia, un traduttore può fare un capolavoro, viceversa, se per tradurre poesia ci vuole un sentimento un po' religioso, poetico, se no non si riesce, si traduce così un mattone. Il traduttore, almeno secondo me, se entri in una lingua entri in un'altra dimensione. Non puoi tradurre, questo l'ho scritto tante volte, anche il dialetto, tanto per dire, se tu descrivi un albero così, ossia non si scrive così, ma il significato è sempre albero, ma non è vero. Albero per un contadino è una pianta che sostiene la vita e vite, per uno della città è un albero, un viale, un giardino, e per uno della giungla è un'altra cosa. È albero, ma però la più brutta traduzione è quella letterale. Quello l'ho sperimentato proprio. Perché non è tradurre le parole così come la pensi tu. Perché quelli che parlano quella lingua hanno altri pensieri, è stata scritta in un'altra. E ora tradurre sbagliatissimo. Alle prime ho fatto di questi, ma dopo me ne sono accorto. Poi ti deve dire che io ho sempre odiato la scuola, non la scuola primaria, ma però la scuola per me non ho mai. L'ultimo giorno di scuola sono fuggito e poi non ho mai più voluto sentire di scuole, non so se ti accorgi dagli scritti. Ho cominciato prima, essendo una casa di socialisti e comunisti, mi hanno sempre interessato i scrittori russi, ma le prime traduzioni le ho fatte dall'ucraino. In 6-7 settimane scrivevo già in ucraino. Poi dopo i russi e poi sono venuti altri che, fino agli acuti e i ciucci e oroci, che ho fatto anche il vocabolario. Erano una persona, un popolo che erano nemmeno 500 persone. Poi la maggior parte parlavano in russo, adesso direi che parlano tutti in russo. La Russia più che la Siberia più degli altri popoli russi, perché sentivo un'attrazione, sebbene stia male con il caldo, odia il caldo, io sono sempre stato attirato dal sole, la nascita e i tramonti. Un'attrazione proprio fisica. Ma io la distanza e il tempo lo dico che non credo alla teoria di Einstein. Per me prima di tutto è l'infinito, allora non puoi dare tempo e distanza come fa Einstein. Adesso è discusso anche lui, perché non c'è. Il tutto è nulla. E allora non puoi fare questi paragoni. È come l'amore. L'amore non è la distanza, che può essere in America, tanto per dire, è là. Non è qua che uno è vicino. Devo dire anche che nessuno ha capito, adesso qualcuno, che le donne mi hanno più capito degli uomini. Credevano che perché non mi comportavo come gli altri, farsi vedere, passeggiare. Oh, perché ti senti solo più che mai, Qua vivi con la gente che giustamente non ti sa nemmeno giudicare perché non immagina nemmeno. Se a parlare degli orci. E poi sono soggetto alle pseudo-rimembranze, ossia una cosa che traduco o anche che vedo non è più una cosa nuova, per me non è più una cosa nuova, mi sembra di aver già letto e vissuto questi momenti. Questo non so, la psicologia, la psichiatria, ma anche se leggo cose che con certezza so che non l'ho mai letto, mai, però mi trovo dinanzi a una cosa già vissuta, ecco, già vissuta. Non so se la mente corre, non lo so, non so spiegare a questo livello psichico, ma mi stacco completamente dal mondo. Vivi in un'altra dimensione, questo sì. Questo sì. Ah, non lo so spiegare. Però quando vengo qua che devo tradurre delle cose, ecco, io prendo in mano il libro, il coro, tutte le altre cose scompaiono. Non mi porta indietro passo in una cosa diversa. Non sono più qua, sono là, come mi immagino, completamente in una dimensione diversa. È strano che i sogni sogno tante volte, ma mai che sogno quei posti là, mai, mi è mai capitato. Quando per esempio tirava il vento, le cose, mi sembrava di essere a steppa, perché avevo proprio la cultura che viene di là. La Siberia lo stesso. Accostavo subito dell'immagine di qua con quelli là. Li russificavo. Tanto più che ho detto ancora, viene qua uno della mia età, ma lui ha vissuto il paese Caprara, non è. Però per me racconta un mondo che non conoscevo assolutamente. Lui non conosceva il mio, ma anche me l'ha proprio a 500 metri. A 500 metri. Proprio un mondo diverso, un mondo diverso, un mondo.
And here we are again. And yeah, Giovanni, my $1 million question to you is, how was it to hear this analysis on your work?
Well, it was really nice. I want to say thanks to Lima and to Ivar and Esther and to the participant for the invitation. It was nice for, well, one reason is that this work that you just saw, it was from 2014. So now it's 2020, so 6 years in between. And it was really nice to have people who really kind of analyze the film. And that was something rich for me, because often, after a festival of a show, the people just say, "Ah, yeah, really nice, really good," but then you don't have the time to experience. So it was really nice to have the feeling that something that you produce can be used to generate a thoughts. And that's what I think was nice in this workshop. Also thinking about the other film that we watched and we are going to watch, because there is still one. So about the workshop, I would say this.
Yeah, and when we were watching the work, Thomas was actually saying that maybe move entity wasn't the most interesting angle to take. Even we also thought it was so interesting what he did, like taking himself as a viewer, as a move entity, and even the other elements that were discussed, for instance, by Anna, like translation as a move entity. But Thomas thought maybe move category was going to be more interesting, but he doesn't want to talk of it. But maybe Ivar and Esther, you can talk a bit about that, how you could see that in regard to this work.
Well, I would like to at least say something about what we talked about like during the film, and what Thomas talked about when we analyzed the film, is that he really strictly took himself as a move entity. So at a certain moment, Thomas said, yeah, and then there of course came the cat and the wind, but they were less important. And I asked him, okay, why are they less important? And basically it was because him taking himself as a move entity overshadowed all the other movements in the film, which was for me a really nice way to analyze the film. And I was really wondering how Giovanni felt about it, that the focus of like looking at the film was taken away from the film into the viewer.
I think I like his point of view, and because it sounds to me that it became like an inner point of view, something almost a mental point of view. I don't know if I'm correct, Thomas. You can always jump and stop me in case. But I thought that I think for this work where I think that the mind it's really important. So also the kind of the feelings of Riccardo Bertani, who is a translator, but it's like a self-taught translator who is a farmer. Basically, he's a farmer and that who decided to translate, and is translating also to kind of travel with his mind, so to use the language to go somewhere else. So I think this movement, it's really a kind of invisible movement. So I think it's quite nice if the viewer became the person, the move entity. Or
it's almost like Thomas became kind of the same entity as the farmer, who was also traveling in himself. What I really liked in this film compared to Green Gringo, like Green Gringo in relation to look at it through the lens of mobility, is that it was really literal. There were so many moving things. You could find the moving things very easily. And in Giovanni's film, it was much more difficult. And then also we found that the participants were more first looking at things that move, but then slowly became other things that also moved, like the light. Someone said, yeah, for me, really, the only really moving thing in the film was the voice. And for someone, it was the light. So not the real moving things, but the camera, for example.
I think Peter, who is not here, he mentioned also already the translation is a movement from a language to another, and I kind of enjoy this way to read the work. And so it's, of course, it's a movement that it's not kind of present visibly in the film, but it's there.
Yeah,
and
it's there.
So,
and to say just a little thing about the move category, maybe like what the translator, the farmer, does, he could be the category of the storyteller, or maybe just still the farmer, but in fact he's a traveler in the capacity of a farmer. So that's where what makes this move category description difficult. What is this guy, and in what capacity is it doing what he's doing? But that's really nice. We think about discussing this, trying to find.
I also saw him as a guide, which makes it more physical. Like he guides you through unknown lands or unknown stories, and that makes him also more an active actor, so to say.
I saw him also very much as a hunter, because of the cats introducing this possibility of trying to understand something or catch something in a specific way, which is always out of reach.
Yeah, and I think this also made the cinematographic space more present, and also by what Thomas did, that you see a lot is happening outside of the frame, because the cat is hunting or chasing something that we don't see. And then also by Thomas making himself the move entity, it's an actor actively involved, but we don't see. So you also break the fourth wall, so to say.
That's interesting thing that you say. It's a lot of things are happening outside of the frame, and of course that's the same with the farmer. It's basically the traveling is happening outside of him. Well, it's inside of his head, but still he wants to try to expand it wider. So that's out of his frame as well. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, there is, I think, a moment that is said when the wind was blowing here, I imagined to be in Siberia. So also this idea to overlapping, you know, so you experience a geographical place through a media. So you have a kind of an image, the media, in this case, it's the book that you read. So you have a kind of an idea of the place, and then you overlap to your kind of reality that you are living. And that was also a kind of movement maybe that I was interested in the film. That, of course, it's a kind of a personal projection. So, yeah.
You mean the personal projection of you or from a farmer?
From the translator, from a personal projector, like like to say, okay, I'm in a field in Italy, but because I read this book about Siberia, I'm perceiving the landscape like if I'm in Siberia, or the kind of conceptual image that you create in your head it's overlapping with the landscape.
He also says in the film, to translate poetry, you have to have a poetic feeling, and maybe that feeling is also the possibility to transpose yourself to that other place.
Yeah, and he often say, like, because I'm a farmer, I could easily translate stories about nature. Because, for instance, the first meeting, I said, I'm gonna wait you outside in the garden, and he said, it's not a garden, it's a vegetable garden. And he told me, but you cannot see it because you are a city guy. I was like, okay, maybe it's true. So it's like these things, they often say, like, I think I have a note here that, if you're describing a tree is not always written like that, because there are different meanings for tree, depends by the culture. So probably also his relationship with nature can help him to translate.
Yeah, for me is a big relationship between this idea of the farmer that through mobility produces a landscape. For example, when you harvest or when you work the land, then you produce a landscape. And that was very much an inspiration for the whole idea that movement can produce a landscape, and could it also be happening in a city where, of course, buildings and pavements, they don't grow again every season, but are they somehow also produced through the mobilities of objects, humans, and animals in the city, like as if it is a little bit of a garden that is worked.
Yeah.
That's also why I like this analogy with the farming, although he is very negative about the farmer as such.
Because he exploited the nature.
Yeah.
I think he was negative also because I know him, so I know that he never, he was a farmer because it kind of happened that, but yeah, he was analyzing. I think he didn't want really to be a farmer. It just happened because it's coming from that family, and so I think he has a contradiction in the relationship. However, yeah, maybe you can feel it because at the beginning of the video he said something quite negative.
Yeah, but I thought it was such a beautiful analysis, and you see how he has a sort of contradictory behavior to all kinds of big subjects that we take for granted, and I think that makes him also such an interesting person, that he looks further beyond the first concept that is installed in front of us, so to say. So, and actually, sorry.
No, you have this contradiction also probably in the movie you see, because it's really like sometimes there are these kind of dolly movement that I had the feeling I wanted to scan space, the private space, and then you have also sometimes in some corner you recognize that it's a farmer house. So you really have this kind of library and kind of country house. So yeah, I was trying also really to make a kind of portrait of him without to have him in the camera, again to connect to some what it was out of the frame, as we said before.
Yeah, and that's actually what I wanted to say when I started interrupting you.
Okay.
There's another important element outside of the frame, and that's you. There's a lot of you also in there, because I think, as you said, he's a shy person and you feel he's not so outgoing. So there must have been also a lot of interaction between the two of you before, after, during, that we don't see, but we feel sort of the presence.
Yeah, Anna, that was another participant also, that she's not here, she also mentioned it. So she felt also this aspect, this presence, this present that is an absence in a way, because I'm not there. But no, it's true. I mean, of course, it took me a while to get the trust from him, but that's also what I like sometimes when I'm working with other people, that you have to tune, like if you're playing music, to their sensibilities. And but yeah, the first day that I was there, I said I had a little chat with him, and then I said, okay, I'm gonna take the camera in the car. And after it, I heard the noise from the door, and he was locking me outside. And this was like the first meeting. And then I have to knock the door, and somehow it worked when he gave me a book about poetry that he translated, but I forgot it during the first meeting. And I went back the day after, but really early in the morning, around 5 o'clock, because he's a farmer. So, you know, he wake up really early. So anyway, I went back and I was asking for the book, and he said that, but you really care about the book. So then we kind of became friends. But of course, yeah, he asked a while to let me to be an intruder in his house and in his privacy.
Yeah, wonderful. You I think you feel that you built this trust relationship with him. And I think we have to move on.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Thomas, and thank you, Anna, who's not here, and thank you, Giovanni, for.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Also, thank you. I think it's also quite courageous to let yourself and your work be case study for others. So
I think
thanks
it
for
was
being
really
open
nice.
to that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move on to our last guinea pig of the night, which is a work by Martijn Veldhoen. Martijn, unfortunately, can't be here tonight, but we have Takako and Bernadette to reflect on the work. And I'm looking at Esther and Ivar now to maybe like guide me through the order of things.
Yeah, I would like to ask Bernadette to say something about the film we're going to see. And officially the LIMA online lasts till 9:30. So Martijn's film will be screened a little bit inspired by
Zomergasten.
Zomergasten.
Yeah, it's our end film.
To have a sort of film afterwards. So we are going to ask Bernadette and Takako to say something about that film, as if they have been the guests of honor of the whole evening. And then we move to that film, I think, right? What do you think, Sanneke?
Sounds great. And I think it puts a lot of pressure on Bernadette and Takako, because you really have to introduce the work that everyone is going to stay for the last half hour. So Bernadette,
I remembered Martijn. I spoke with Martijn a little bit. He called me later, and he said that he was so amazed about eloquence with which his film was discussed by the participants who watched it. And also one of the participants that joined that discussion said that it was the best advertisement for a film that they had ever heard, because they joined the discussion without having seen the film. And that is what our audience tonight also hopefully experienced, to have these descriptions through the lens of mobility of these films, and to create another curiosity after the works. That's what we intended. So we hope that that worked out tonight. But we have one more film to go, and I really would be happy to give the word to Bernadette about this film.
Yes, thank you. No pressure at all. I will do my best. So for me, the film of Martijn Veldhoen, he stages sort of the embodiment of the Bloemgracht 64, which is an address, which you will learn more about, over a specific time period, in 52 years in total. And this house, or this site, offered a home to mainly Lotje, which is Martijn's mom, but I also think Martijn himself. And as Martijn will mention in the beginning of the film, the place has known love and birth, parties, quarrels, laughter, death. But I also think sickness. You see the sickness of the mother is staged. And as a viewer, you travel between these different affective states. I looked at the movie with the assignment to focus on move, act. And as you will probably notice while watching the film, there's a lot of different elements that you can focus upon because there's a lot happening in the movie. You can focus on mise en scène, editing, sound design, the way lighting is used. But I decided to look at how Martijn uses the camera as a performative tool. And I also think it is a very strong performative instrument. And I will just guide you through my findings very generally, focusing on two move act strategies that for me personally had a great effect on how I felt about this movie. So first of all, I would like to focus on the component of temporality. And I think you can describe this move act as maybe time traveling. So there's a lot of movement between the past, the present, and the future. And you often experience these movements through the uses of photos and reconstructions. So you travel between these different times, you become a time traveler yourself. But the story is told in a chronological order, but you really move between these different time zones. And you travel to imaginary spaces, sometimes directly linked to the house that you will see, or you really imagine yourself standing there. But sometimes the imagined space relates to the overall narrative, to the life that is being described, imagining the life of the different characters, and sometimes also wondering what's real, what's fake. But in the end, that doesn't really matter whether it's real or fake. I really felt a strong connection to the life of especially Martijn's mom, I must say. And I think the second strategy relates to the component of spatiality, because as you will see, there's a lot of movement in the cameras, and especially when you compare it with the movie of Giovanni, there were a lot of the shots were very still, they weren't moving a lot, but here you see a lot of movement within every shot, which is sort of an active scenography almost. The camera is moving in such a way that it really sparks your imagination, and for me at least, and also establishes a form of intimacy by zooming in, zooming out, panning, tilting, and it sometimes even felt like a sort of dance movement, that you were standing there and turning around. And I also really felt this within my own body, as if I was the performer or a dancer, or if I was walking into space. And that also made it much easier for me to connect with the overall narrative and the life of the characters. And I think I'm gonna stop there because I know Takako also has to add a lot to this.
Can I just take over? So the last person to speak, no pressure at all. So before watching the film, so I was watching it through the eyes of move category. Before watching it, I decided, so what am I as a move category? So obviously in the lockdown situation, I'm in London, and then for the last 4 months, my life completely evolved within the house, and then no time to go from one action to the other act. It's always no in-between space. And then I moved category, and then I watched the film, and it was completely synchronized to the psychology or the lens of this move category as internalized without breathing space, because the story is told sort of intertwining conversation between filmmaker's dying mother and himself. So the stories are following the memory space of the mother, and it's also that is also internalized, and it also the whole film was somehow evolving within a room. So the only view is through the window. It's completely synchronized the way I watched. So it was somehow entry was I was drawn into the narrative, what's going on. But after a while, I noticed there are so many layers or blur between many aspects. One blur or layer was who is who are they, who's actually talking. Also the space, time scale blur, and physical space scale blur, and also 2D and 3D layer. It's all intertwined. It's very interesting way. When I say who is who, I wondered was because it could have been done. The film might have been filmed completely after sadly his mother's death. So because the filmmaker decided not to show, I mean, the mother didn't want to show head up, so disembodied. And that made me made me feel as her. So I could be her, but also disembodied, meaning that it could have not been her. It might have been acted. And then so but you would see the recorder. It might have been film magic or film trick that can be absolutely for the purpose of reconstruction. And then that's very interesting. And then started to wonder, so what is the motivation here for the filmmaker? Was it for the legacy of his mother to really go to celebrate her life? Or is it for him to figure out who he was within her life or within the life of the house? Now it's completely not him. And there are another time scale, that's another time scale. There are lots of images of interior space and real photograph of the real space that they lived. Also black and white, eerie type of space. And it comes in and goes, and it's of course in the film space you can't see the time actual difference of the physical size, but actually the black and white turned out to be a scaled model. Or intentional guide for the viewer to go in and out of the memory space, the physical space. And another one is there are lots of photographs, but the photos are not still. He moves the 2D that goes into the time scale somehow. So that was very, so many reconstructive narrative aspects, which it's although the linear time might have been, but it's all these elements reconstructing, layering was very intriguing. It was very, very nice to watch. And the last point that I think probably I should mention, because it's a Dutch city and I don't speak Dutch, so I had to read it so that I didn't know the nuances and I probably missed out the sort of spoken word. So might have been my mind was probably a little bit objectified through the language. Sorry, I don't want to spoil too much, but that was a rich experience. But I have to say this move category, I entered it. But as soon as I put the cap of the analyzing the film, it took me over. It was really actually a very nice experience to see the film through this different lens. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I think Bernadette and Takako, that definitely worked. I have seen the work already, but I've never wanted to see it more than I want to see it right now after your beautiful analysis and introduction. So I'm looking at Esther and Ivar if you have something to add to that.
Well, I think I hope everybody is really curious after the film now. And the only thing I want to add is that we purposely gave this workshop shortly after the lockdown, and Takako still lives in a lockdown situation, and all films also relate to that. And I'm happy that Takako managed to make that bridge also clear. So thank you very much, and also Bernadette's discussion of the film added to that for me. So yeah, I'm ready to wrap it up and to watch the film.
And thank Giovanni and Bernadette and Krijn and Katalijn, Thomas, Takako and Giovanni.
And Jose for being with us, doing the technology and showing himself tonight.
Yeah,
and
that's
Sonica,
also what I wanted to do. Thank you all so
all
much.
the editions of this year that we've been homebound as we were able to follow LIMA's program.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I also wanted to quickly take the opportunity to thank everyone for watching. It's already 3 months that we've been doing this. And thank you so much, Jose, for always being there on my side, and to my colleagues at LIMA for making this happen. So we'll go on a summer break after 3 months, but we'll be back in September. So thanks again and have a lovely summer, all of you. Okay, we won't be back after the film, so we ended at this point, and yeah, enjoy watching Martijn's film. I think you really have the proper tools to go for it. So thanks everyone. See you. Bye bye.
Thanks again. Bye.
Bye bye.
Zo, dat ligt alvast.
Heb je suiker erin?
Ja, ik heb suiker erin. Oké, we kunnen beginnen.
Schiet je het nou op te nemen?
...52 jaar woonde mijn familie hier. In die tijd werd hier bemind, geboren, gefeest, geruzied, gelachen en gestorven. Maar elke minuut die nu verstrijkt, maakt ons verhaal vager. En dan vooral het verhaal dat mijn moeder nog kan vertellen. Wil je daar niet nog even over nadenken of zo?
Nee.
Oké, nou dan film ik je zonder dat ik je gezicht in beeld breng. Dat kan. Ja.
Maar wat is dit? Wat is dit eigenlijk?
Nee, ik bedoel die foto die ik net had klaargelegd.
Oh, dat verhaal moet je weten.
Mm-hmm.
Ja, god ja. Dat herinner ik me nog heel goed. Dat was echt heel gevaarlijk.
Nee, maar dat bedoel ik niet.
Ja, echt vreselijk.
Wacht nou even.
Hè?
Dat is toch pas later? Ik bedoel het echte begin. Toen je de keuze moest maken voor dit huis.
Oké.
Weet je nog hoe dat ging?
Ja. Oh ja. Toen ik hier kwam, was dit dus leeg. Beneden was leeg.
Mm-hmm.
En ik mocht dus dan kiezen.
Ja, wat koos je?
Dus toen heb ik gekozen voor hier.
Ja, en met hier bedoel je deze tweede verdieping?
Ja.
En toen heb je ook nog de derde verdieping en de zolder erbij genomen.
Ja.
Maar jullie woonden eerst ergens anders, toch?
Wacht even, nee. Ik haal weer de huizen door elkaar.
Pas na de geboorte van David kwamen jullie hier te wonen, volgens mij.
Ik weet het niet meer.
Ja, maar daarom doen we dit. Ik zou jou helpen met je geheugen en jij zou mij vertellen wat je nog weet.
Maar ja, het lukt me vandaag niet, hoor, Tijn.
Nee, probeer het nou gewoon nog even.
Ja.
Ik vind het prima.
Ja.
Begin daar maar.
Nou, laat ik me daar maar even bij houden. Nee, dat past hij niet, hè? Ja, dat past hij.
Zie je wel.
Ja, dan loopt dat goed. Dan loopt dat goed. Wacht even.
Maar dan weet je nu ook wel wat er voor de Bloemgracht gebeurde. Want je leerde natuurlijk eerst Aartje kennen.
Ja.
Hoe ging dat dan?
Hoe ik Aartje heb leren kennen.
Ja. Eens kijken. Oh, je werd zo'n model.
Ja. Zo begon dat allemaal. Onze trouwerij. Dit is David.
Maar ja, jullie woonden toen heel klein.
Ja, het was in het andere huisje.
En Aartje had ergens anders zijn atelier.
Ja. Aartje werkte de hele dag. Dus een harde werker.
Dus na de geboorte van David wilde jij groter wonen. En toen heb je de Bloemgracht geregeld.
Ja, ik heb er dus toen voor gezorgd dat het echt achter elkaar doorging. Dat we die huiseigenaren belden van die twee verschillende.
En hoe vond je het?
Ja, ook was er zo trots op. Het ziet er keurig netjes uit, hè?
Ja. Maar Aartje wilde dat huis eigenlijk niet of zo?
Ik had dat dus weer geregeld zonder dat ik Aartje daarover had ingelicht.
Maar uiteindelijk zag je wel het voordeel, toch?
Ja.
Het huis was veel groter en hij kon boven zijn atelier inrichten.
Ja.
Ja, en die buurt was natuurlijk bijzonder. Ook al was hij totaal overbevolkt toen.
Ja. Hier werd ook alles verhuurd, hoor, in de Jordaan. Alle hokjes en gaatjes, dat werd allemaal verhuurd.
Ja, het huis was een beetje in slechte staat. Maar wel heel mooi, hè?
Hartstikke mooi. En hij was natuurlijk gek op Eva. Die werd altijd de lucht in getild bij openingen van tentoonstellingen. En ja, die dochter, dat was het helemaal. Dat was weer hierboven.
Ja. Dat wist ik niet. Daar is hij altijd wel echt goed in geweest, hè, publiciteit.
Voordat jij nu op die pers jouw platen drukt, wat doe je dan eerst?
Nou, dan beteken ik die platen eerst.
Kun je het even laten zien?
Natuurlijk.
Maar kende hij die Simon Vinkenoog niet via jouw moeder, via oma?
Ik denk het.
Ik sla dus de plaat met de hand schoon.
Maar oma heeft in jouw opvoeding niet echt een hele fijne rol gespeeld, hè, geloof ik?
Laat maar.
Hoezo?
Nee.
Mijn moeder groeit samen met haar broertje op. In een kinderthuis. Omdat haar moeder in de oorlog bij het verzet gaat. Maar ze haalt ze niet op na de oorlog. Want ze kiest voor haar nieuwe vriend, de dichter Jan Elburg. En voor haar eigen carrière als kunstenaar.
Dus ik heb er ongeveer een jaar of 11 gezeten. Oh, dit is een snoepje.
Maar die fout wilde jij in ieder geval niet maken?
Nee.
Je wilde er echt zijn voor je kinderen?
Dat weet ik wel zeker.
Je steunde Aatje bijna onvoorwaardelijk in zijn werk. Je gaf hem heel veel vrijheid. Gaf je hem niet iets te veel vrijheid?
Het zou kunnen. Ja.
Is dat de reden dat hij boven wegging?
Weet ik niet meer.
Maar dan is het toch weer goed gekomen. Want jij schrijft in die brief dat je weer gelukkig met hem durft te zijn.
Jij weet het nog beter dan ik.
Was dat niet zo dan?
Jawel. Maar dat zijn allemaal momenten.
Mooie momenten, hoop ik dan?
Ja.
Ja, ik vraag het maar.
Ach ja.
Ik weet het niet.
Oh ja.
Hm?
En dan sliep jij hier. Op die grote zolder waar ik een enorme puinhoop was. En kleine kindjes zijn altijd mooi. Maar wat vroeg je mij?
Nee, ik vroeg niks. Ik zei alleen dat ik kan me daar niks van herinneren, natuurlijk. Ja, dat kwam pas veel later. Ja, maar mijn herinneringen beginnen natuurlijk pas bij 5 of 6 of zo. Als kind ervaar je die wereld gewoon zo anders. Het is zo overweldigend. Zo spannend allemaal. Maar ja, die peutertijd, die weet ik niet meer natuurlijk.
Om het op een rij te zetten, dat kan ik niet goed hoor.
Nou, volgens mij was ik iets van 9 maanden toen we naar Spanje gingen. Ja, en dan was David was dan 6 en Eva was 4 jaar.
Ja, god ja. Uiterste puntje van een berg.
Nou, we hebben daar echt maanden gezeten. Hè?
Ja.
En naast Spanje lijkt die huiskamer wel een soort speeltuin.
Ja.
Waarom had je dat zo ingericht?
Jij laat me slapen nog? Ja.
Ja, dat vind ik heel moeilijk om te zeggen. Ik had altijd zo'n behoefte om naar jullie te blijven kijken.
Geweest.
Ja, ik denk dat die vrijheid die jij ons gaf, was zo'n enorm contrast met die ingeslapen jaren 50 mentaliteit die overal toen nog heerste. Provo inderdaad, ja, onvoorstelbaar. Het waren de eerste protesten toen. Die hebben zo'n invloed gehad.
Happening is a happening is a happening is a happening is a happening. Everything is happening.
Het zijn toch bepaalde dingen die je zo aangrijpen of die je zo mooi vindt of zo goed vindt. En die houden je leven zo'n beetje bezig. En dat heeft Aartje natuurlijk ook wel sterk gehad.
Hij raakt bevriend met de bizarre performer van Provo, Robert Jasper Grootveld. Hij maakt prenten van hem en zijn vrouw met een nieuwe techniek, waardoor hij ze kan laten afdrukken in een enorme oplage. Ja, die gewoon die verkoop op straat. Maar dat duurde niet lang, geloof ik, hè?
Nee.
En die rechtsgang, die heeft ontzettend veel publiciteit gekregen toen. En jij zegt dat het toen begon.
Ja. Maar je moest altijd weer wat doen. Er moest weer gegeten worden, of het huis moest schoon. Het was altijd druk.
Maar jij was in die tijd weer zwanger, toch?
Dat is Aartje. Maar dat is nou Aartje. Ah, dat is Jaap.
Mijn moeder is niet zo'n voorstander van die massaal geproduceerde prenten. En ze heeft genoeg van dat constante gerotzooi van mijn vader. Want met die seksuele vrijheid die hij met zijn prenten bejubelt, heeft hij eerst ruimschoots ervaring opgedaan.
Ja, er is toen iets fout gelopen.
Je moet even je pillen nemen, Lot.
Ja.
Terwijl mijn vader aan het werk is, brengen wij de vakantie door in een zomerhuisje. Maar als hij veel later dan afgesproken bij het zomerhuisje komt, is er iets veranderd.
Ik heb op een stoel in een hoekje gezeten beneden. Zo'n rieten stoel. En ik zat daarin, ik zat alleen maar te huilen. Ik wist niet hoe ik het moest oplossen.
Want je wist dat dit een serieuze affaire was.
Ja. Nee, laat maar.
Nee, ik weet echt niets meer van die scheiding of van Aartje. Alleen dat ene ding, dat we daar dus beneden stonden. Ja, ik vond het wel angstaanjagend. Dan stond ik daar naast je en dan stond je echt heel hard te huilen.
Oké.
Was je dan aan het uithuilen voordat je de deur uit durfde?
Ja. Dus je probeerde dat al weg te houden, maar ja, soms ging dat niet. Was het niet te houden bij mij.
Oké. En toen kwam dat er nog bovenop.
Ja.
Hoe kan dat nou?
Het is volgens mij echt gekomen door die lamp die een soort kortsluiting maakt. Ja, echt vreselijk.
Maar toen het dus gebeurde, toen zaten wij bij de benedenburen.
Ja. Ja, stond ik daar met die 2 politieagenten. En die hadden zoiets bij Aartje van... ho, weet je wel, je mag niet zomaar naar binnen. Toen riep hij, het is mijn huis, weet je.
Hè? Hij wilde gewoon even komen kijken.
Ja.
Maar heeft hij nog iets gedaan? Heeft hij nog geholpen?
Nee. Helemaal niet. Nou, zoek het maar uit. Het geheel is vies en zwart en vet en...
Ja. Maar ik kan me wel verhalen herinneren dat Jaap en zus van beneden jou geholpen hebben uiteindelijk.
Ja, geweldig. Die begon gewoon schoon te maken met een emmer sop en die ging alles afsoppen. Maar zonder dat ze iets zei of dat ze iets vroeg, die mensen waren daar.
Nadat Aantje er vandoor is gegaan met een andere vrouw, blijft mijn moeder dus achter met 4 kinderen. Zonder ooit hulp of alimentatie te krijgen. Dus de boosheid is nog niet weg?
Niet helemaal weg, nee. Helemaal niet.
Hè? Dus hij wilde ons ook niet meer zien?
Nee.
Ja, ik kan me dat niet herinneren, maar dat is toch onbegrijpelijk voor een kind?
Ja.
En toen zat je ineens alleen met ons.
Ach ja. Niemand was lastig. Ik kan me niet herinneren dat jullie heen en weer holden of gilden. Of...
Ja, ik vond het een heerlijke tijd.
Ja?
Ja, ik denk ook wel dat Jaap en ik te jong waren om echt te beseffen wat er aan de hand was.
Ja. Ja.
Ja, ik denk die rust van dat huis. En we konden gewoon doen wat we wilden.
Oké.
Ja, en voor mij was het gewoon vrij eenvoudig. Ik wilde maar één ding.
Ja. Ja, je lost alles op met tekenen.
Broertje Jaap vindt het niks, al dat geknutsel in de huiskamer. Hij wil buiten spelen. En soms weet hij me over te halen om mee te gaan. De buurt in.
Want Jaap trok je wel naar buiten. Hij trok je dus nooit in je haren.
Ja, inderdaad. Dan gingen we altijd die oude pan in. Maar voor David en Eva lag het allemaal iets complexer, denk ik. Die scheiding.
Dat zal ik proberen terug te halen.
We gaan straks verder, want dit is volgens mij de dokter al.
Voordat die pillen allemaal werken en dan zit je echt... En dan doet het echt goed zeer.
Goed zeer, ja. Maar lukt het een beetje om de pijn te voorkomen? Want dat begrijp ik, dat u toch afhankelijk bent van die pillen.
Ja.
Ja, dus het is waarschijnlijk niks. Maar ze moet het gewoon nog even onderzoeken. Waar waren we? Aan tafel.
Ja.
Verjaardag van David, toch?
Ja, hij is David. Hij was altijd zelf bezig. Hij had zoveel te doen en te maken.
Maar hij zat wel altijd op zijn kamer.
Ja. Ik kan me bij David wel iets voorstellen dat hij zich echt achteruit gezet heeft gevoeld.
Door de scheiding bedoel je?
Ja.
Dus waarschijnlijk is hij ook daarom zo snel het huis uitgegaan.
Ja.
Uiteindelijk is het de tijd die het doet. Er is tijd voor herstel, voor nieuwe liefdes, voor een nieuw leven. Maar niet alles herstelt zich automatisch.
Dus even. Weet je nog?
Ja, tuurlijk. Is dat feest? Jezus, ja, dan ben ik 13. Die bril.
Dat weet ik niet meer precies.
Ze had veel vrienden. Ze was altijd vrolijk, toch?
Ja.
Maar was het dan dat gedoe met Aantje, dat altijd een soort rol bleef spelen?
Zou kunnen. Ja, je doet er als moeder gewoon niet goed aan.
Oh, wacht even.
Wat is dat nou?
Dat is even iets heel anders.
Dat is David.
Ja, dat was in de jaren 80, weet je nog? Dat waren die krakersacties van hem.
Ja, god, ja.
Wat gaan we doen, heren? Alleen maar de groeten. Ga hem even de groeten te brengen. Van Amok. Zo eentje.
Ja, geweldig toch? Sommige dingen kunnen ontzettend van belang lijken in de tijd. En later toch plotseling in het niets oplossen. Lotje werkt in die tijd voor het Nicaragua-comité. En wij beginnen aan onze volwassenheid.
Ach ja. Kan je dat nog herinneren?
Ja, liever niet eigenlijk.
Hoezo?
Ja, ik was toen 17. En toen was ik net toegelaten op de Rietveld Academie.
Dat zijn natuurlijk leuke dingen, toch?
Nou, leuk. Ik was echt te jong. En ik werd direct vergeleken met Aatje. En dat begreep ik niet, want ik kende hem niet.
Nee.
Maar misschien was ik ook wel klaar met het tekenen. Kunnen we door nou?
Ja. Jaap was de enige die luidruchtig was. Die wou jullie ook altijd mee op straat krijgen. Hij zat ook altijd aan jou te trekken.
Ja, hij ging heel snel uit huis, ja. Maar hij kwam toen ook weer thuis wonen. Maar waarom?
Dat weet ik niet meer precies.
Oh ja, hij ging naar de filmacademie hier. Dat was het.
Oh ja. Zo is dat toegegaan.
En er is weer contact met Aatje. Op een soort verjaardagen- en partijenniveau. Maar hij is gewoon te laat.
God, ik haal het echt door elkaar.
Nee, wij waren al weg. Toen jij naar boven verhuisde, waren wij allemaal de deur uit.
Ja, oh ja. Als ze groter werden, dan moet je ze de deur uitschoppen.
Ja, hij zal leeg mooier zijn dan als hij vol staat.
Maar de leegte wordt niet opgevuld met een nieuwe liefde. Die houdt ze nu liever buiten de deur, op afstand. En toch is het huis nooit leeg.
Wat gaan we doen? Oh, wat doet die vader van jou zich uitslopen?
Dus je wilde gewoon alleen maar kinderen in je huis?
Ja, ik vond het heerlijk.
Oh, en één hand. Goed zo. Goed zo. Ben je klaar? Hè? Komt zo'n traan uit, want ik kan zo slecht tegen aandacht, zie je?
Hondjes! Dat wil ik ook juist. Ik wil ook juist dat het niet
Lotje heeft ons opgevoed volgens haar idealen. We moesten een soort spelende mens worden. Die openstaat naar de wereld toe. En creatief is op vele terreinen. Maar zo voel ik me even niet. Want het huis en mijn moeder in beeld brengen blijkt veel moeilijker dan ik dacht. Haar geheugen gaat snel achteruit. En er is, behalve de foto's, bijna geen beeldmateriaal.
Oh, dat is wel leuk, ja.
Ik besluit om te laten zien hoe ik dat wil oplossen.
Ik heb weer eens eindeloos zitten tekenen. Maar nu zijn het digitale tekeningen.
Oh, Jezus.
Nee hoor, dit is niet knap. Het is gewoon gekte om dit te doen. Absolute gekte. Poep. 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 En dit?
Dat weet ik niet meer precies.
Poep. Dit wel, toch?
Oh, ja.
Poep. Poep.
Nee. Maar het loopt me allemaal door elkaar als ik erover nadenk.
Nou, sorry Lot.
Is het nou echt?
Ik had het gewoon niet moeten laten zien. Ja, dit is weer echt.
Oké.
Het is een echtheid waar je ook over kan discussiëren, maar het is wel video, ja.
Nou, daar moet ik er diep over nadenken.
Ja, sorry Lot. Dit was niet de bedoeling. Doe het ding maar dicht. Oh, ja. We moeten zo weg. We hebben die afspraak in het ziekenhuis, hè?
Ja.
Het is dus teruggekomen, vrij snel, nadat het behandeld is. Dus blijkbaar is die tumor niet heel erg gevoelig voor bestralen. En dan is het denk ik een illusie om te denken dat als je het nu wel weer bestraalt, dat het dan wel weg is. Snap je?
Ik ga een beetje koffie maken.
Ja. Maar wacht maar, ik doe het wel. Thee voor jou? En koffie voor mij.
Ja, nou, daar kan je ook bang voor
Wil je
zijn.
een sigaretje of wat?
Ja, dus.
Nou, dat staat daar.
Kijk, deze foto van jou. Je bent zelf gewoon nog een meisje.
Ja, maar je was ook een meisje. Nog altijd een meisje.
Het is genoeg voor vandaag, hè?
Ja. En wat voor soort leven hou je nog over als daar zo'n kuil is in je oog weg? En ja, ik heb zoiets van, ergens moet je ook op een goed moment zeggen, oké, de dood bestaat ook.
En ja, hoe verder, ik noem dat altijd op de Borobudur. Hoe hoger je op de treden van de Borobudur staat, hoe beter je daarmee om kunt gaan.
Ja.
Aartje komt nu eens per week langs. Zijn wilde dagen zijn nu echt over. Hij heeft een tijdje terug een herseninfarct gehad. Ik vermoed dat hij behoefte heeft aan vergeving. Maar misschien is dat mijn eigen invulling. Meestal zitten ze een tijdje zwijgend tegenover elkaar. En dan vertrekt hij weer. Lotje sterft op 29 mei 2010. Ze is 73 jaar geworden.
Ja, zo gingen al die dingen. Oh god. Zit je het nou op te nemen?
Nee, ik ben gestopt. Het is nu klaar. Dankjewel, Lot. Wil je daar niet nog even over nadenken of zo?
Nee.
Ja, maar je hebt dus geen zin in al die camera's hier, dat gedoe.
Nee.
Maar dan doe ik dat gewoon op een andere manier.
Was het nou echt of was het nou flauwekul?
Wat jij vertelde was toch echt?
Ja.
Nou ja, dan kan dit nooit flauwekul zijn.